So you can see what everybody is telling you a piece of the puzzle, but they can't see the whole thing because we wasn't supposed to. So the conjure war is all of these sorcerers called priests. They do high magic. Warlocks do high magic, but warlock is not the person. Warlock is a condition that the people are in during the conjure war, where they're not allowed to access their wealth to deplete the natural resources of the land. And if you look, America has not traded its own oil pumped over here in Mexico and Texas and Arizona, etc. They haven't been trading in that oil because it's in a warlock, meaning it's held in abeyance until somebody remember the parameters of the contract. And this is the constitutional contract written in the blood of Crispus Attucks. That's why they got to always tell you he the first one to die in the so-called American Revolution, because they went behind our back after the the loyalists set up the Constitution to keep the British at bay, but the dirty Moors, or the ones who came over here to replace us, they went behind and wrote the blood oath in the contract to keep us bound to their constitutional agreement, because it's written that the blood of the righteous shall not be spilled in vain. So when we talk about a conjure war, it's all of these masters in the secret societies. Now, I got to make them close that stuff. The Haitian Revolutionary Conjure closed. The Broken Mirror Conjure to keep the matriarchs broken up closed. All of these, it's major conjures. Then you got people still right now trying to conjure stuff at the close of an age. And every priest know that when you try to conjure at the close of an age, you reap all of the negative energy from that conjure. This is sorcery at its finest. It's absolute sorcery. It's a conjure. It's voodoo. Well, voodoo is a bad terminology because they told us it was, but voodoo is actually nature science. And that's the only way you're going to see your way out of here. That's why they kept telling us voodoo was evil, to keep us from going back to our ancestral ways.
Mm.
So that's what I talk about, the conjure war.
What's the difference between voodoo and hoodoo? Because you talk about the
that's denominational.
Listen, okay.
It's like being the difference between the Baptist and the Pentecostal, or Sunni and the Shia. It's denominational. Even when you say Santeria, they use different ways to express an organic culture in the enemy face, because he won't stop you from passing these keys down to the next generation. And this is what takes us to Dr. Clark.
Right.
He's a historian. He read history from angle of different writers around the world. And in the course of writing that history, he give us a position or an understanding of what we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Rod, you said voodoo is nature science. I want to just to ask you about nature and what's going on with nature in this country right now. You know, you really do a good job representing this country in terms of telling us that this is our shit, when a lot of us, you know, look overseas for a homeland. And what do you think about the wildfires, the hurricanes hitting Cali? This country's getting tore the fuck up by nature.
We ain't the only one. We ain't the only ones.
Are we supposed to step in and stop, like do some meditation and try to stop the weather? Or are we supposed to let it just continue to do what it do? Like, how does this work in terms of
the weather is driven by the emotions of the matriarchs, and they call it when the elephant's swaying, it causes earthquakes. This is the sway of the matriarch. It's an old earth dance. When they got earthbenders, firebenders, waterbenders, airbenders, etherbenders, just like that movie Avatar.
Yeah.
Right. What we're seeing now is all of this is not natural. A lot of it is to create chaos, to keep us distracted from all of the government. That's about what it is. It's a lot of them where they trying to hold on to their last little sips of power, and they trying to cause as much confusion on the way out as to who's working for the good and who's working for the bad, or who's working for the right and the wrong. Because when you boil this down, this is a kind of, meaning that when you come into the physical realm, everything is how the mind adjusts to, or how the reality adjusts to the mind. The more minds become aware that the game of the gods is a fifth dimensional galactic chess game, and they use people on the earth to play the game, and then the so-called gods take the form of humans to be blind to what's going on to see if they can figure out the solution to the game. They call it the keys to freedom.
I need you to explain a little bit about this fifth dimensional chess game between the gods. What are we talking about here? Like, where's this taking place at? Because we're projecting, yeah.
The game is taking place all around you. The problem is because we've been so externally oriented, we can't see it. We go back to the Matrix when Morpheus was telling Neo that the world is the deception that's been pulled down over his eyes. That's the Matrix.
Yeah.
Right. So right now we in a holographic mind matrix. A holograph mean all parts is the same as the whole.
The whole, right.
Right. So we're trying to get to event horizon off of 100 monkey effect. Each one teach one. We all gonna reach some. Mm-hmm. Don't ask nobody shit. Go out and put your hands on the earth and ask her where you belong. And if you don't belong here, every circumstance in your life gonna lead you where you're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. It's just gonna align just like that, because you have to tune into the earth for the earth to tell you where to be at. This is the same as birds flying south for the winter. Mm-hmm. We tread the land and we end up, I had to be in the right hand of the great mother, which is Michigan. Right? The left hand salute is over the right hand. They call it the Upper Peninsula. Right? So I had to be here in the right hand of the Mother Earth in order to be able to assimilate an energy frequency that's coming in on solar rays. So it's the symbol at the Joe Louis of the statue holding the sun in its hand. That's the symbol of the power of Michigan. Right. But the sun, fire can't burn the sun. Right? That's the saying. The fire can't burn the sun because it's composed of fire. Mm-hmm. Right? That's like a fire burning itself. Can't happen. It can't be too hot for itself. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's the same, all parts being part of the whole. Any one part, microcosm of the macrocosm. Mm-hmm. Right? This is your Renaissance man painting by Leonardo da Vinci. You see, you have the man's arm in 3 stages. Some of them have 2, some got 4, depending on what. All of that is different ways of looking at the galactic clock. In European culture, it's called the Grand Man. In our culture, it's called Tawaret, the Great Mother. So they flipped our culture over and gave us patriarchy to confuse us. Right? So the patriarchal agenda is a conquest agenda, and it's a warring agenda. That's part of the game. Right? Toy soldiers. Pawns in the game. Mm-hmm. Right. So what we look at, the elders is telling us what they see, but they don't know what they're looking at. They tell us what they see, but they don't know what they're looking at when they telling us. We got to put enough for the elders' communications together in order to paint a picture of the elephant that they're looking at. Mm-hmm. Right. They call that raising the matriarchy. Mm-hmm. They all got to give you a piece. That's why the Marines, they say the POW, some gave all gave some. Everybody in this game, whether they want to be or not.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Most of us kicking and screaming, but we don't know that half of us came here just to kick and scream because we don't got nothing to kick and scream about in truth. Mm-hmm. It's all an illusion of the mind called misery. It's the chapter we in, Noble Drew Ali. Right? We in the chapter of misery because we are strong enough to endure the pain at the bottom. So we square off against the enemy as pawns, but we got to rise to the level of greatness in whatever we do. This is what they say, let your light shine in the world, right? And when your two eyes are one, the whole body is filled with light, and the light is the love of the world, right? So you bring in back, you turn into what starts out as a war story in the game of the gods on the chessboard ends up closing out as a love story. And then every story of the war story has turned into a love story, and that kills all opposition to greatness. The greatest love of all, remember? Learn to love yourself, the greatest love. They told you. They was telling you in the music because that's a blues note, blue house knot off of a Mississippi River backwood knocking. This is how they use, this is where blues singers come from. They ain't just come out the South and start singing the blues to the public because it was just something they wanted to do. They was trying to get money because there wasn't no money in it when they started it. And they still ain't paying the artists. That's the sharecropper agreement reenactment. So we'll know how our ancestors lost the land through sharecropper agreements through a crooked government. And they got meticulous records on it. They told us what they did. It's not no secret. They caught our elders up in sharecropper agreements, and then they destroyed product. So now they can't grow nothing this season. They got to double up on the loan next year, and on the third year they seize it for non-payment. They've been doing that since they've been here. Burning up the farms, burning up the record halls, trying to conceal the dirt. But you got people in the families that's always been record keepers. So they can go back 200 years in their direct family back to their land. Ain't none of this a secret to us, but because of the conjure war we in, and we don't understand the nature of it, is ignorance. Right? Bobby Hemmett tell us, Bobby Hemmett said, look, out of all of the melanated people of the world, there's something special about the ones from this land. Right? We the ones who are the creative men that love the women so passionately that we generate masculine forms of art.
Explain that. What do you mean? What do you mean?
The masculine forms of art is the martial arts. And then they get this spiritual energy that's extracted from that. Right? But the men do it in order to have a positive outlet for the rage of the masculine. If you can control the outlet, you can control the self. All that stuff is scripted. All them professional sports is scripted. But you know when it ain't? When you play in Little League. It's not scripted. Because you're trying to learn the game. And what else they teach you in the same age as Little League? Board games. These is giving you the rules to how to play the game called life, which takes you to a Plutarchy, right? Which is a total domination of all in existence. Right? That's the final conclusion of the game of the gods. Right? So they tell you all of these examples to go by, but they don't never tell you what they mean. Right? Then they get you caught up in moralism. Right? That don't got nothing to do with us. We want to be good because it's the nature of those who come into the physical body. But those who wish to experience pain sometimes go bad because the pain drives them in the wrong direction. That's called taking the left-hand path. But how far are you going to go down the wrong path before you realize this ain't for me? Some people get in too deep.
Right.
Right. So this is the parameters of this conjure war.
You know, Rod, you mentioned the sister Erin Lyons earlier, and we was talking about Lemuria. I'm interested in knowing. I've talked extensively with you in the past about Atlantis, but I don't think we've mentioned Lemuria and Mu. I believe that's the same thing. What's your thoughts on Lemuria and its connection to America? We've talked about Atlantis, but I believe Blavatsky said Lemuria was the third root race. Atlantis was the fourth. So Lemuria came before Atlantis. We talk about Atlantis, but people don't talk about Lemuria as much as they give Atlantis love. So what's your thoughts on Lemuria?
Well, they shifting away from Atlantis now and going to Tartaria. Right? Mu is a city. Atlantis is an empire. Mu is one of the first concentric cities that the matriarchs made, right? And when they decided to scale the project up, it evolved into what became Atlantis.
Where was
Atlantis is the city of Mu. It was on the island. The island is sank, right? But when they tell you Atlantis, the capital of Atlantis flew away. It didn't sink, right? When they telling you it sunk, it went the other direction. When they tell you that the Noah's Ark floated on the water, that's not what the books say. But nobody don't pay it no attention. They just go right over it. They say that Noah's craft was taken up into the sky, right? And most people is not going to ever see that. But it's not going to make sense unless you realize, how can New Jerusalem be coming back if it ain't never been here? Right? Which is also a hijacked terminology to mislead us from what they're talking about. When they call Jerusalem the city of peace, we talking about the capital city of Atlantis, which was a jumper. It was called a jumper ship, right? We didn't been through so many, everything you can think of has been true at some time or another on Earth. You can't think of nothing that never happened. It all happened. And it probably didn't happen exactly like people tell it, but the general outline of the story is still consistent with the historical record of the planet, because we went through this cycles and cycles on top of cycles. This is nothing new. Right? So we go through the cycles, and then when the cycle gets so bad, somebody got to clean it up. It got to be cleaned up at the close of every age.
Why did this capital move? Why did it sink?
It just the shifting of the land masses. But Atlantis flew away because of war. The capital of Atlantis flew away because of war. Mu sucked because over time it wasn't functional, because it was already at sea level. So when the sea level shifted, it just consumed it. You know it today as Bimini Road is the pathway to where Mu used to be. It's called the Bimini Road. But it had, every time we did this, we had satellite cities. That's why you see pyramids all over the world. But the pyramids started in the Americas. It's a purpose form that we're not going to get into, other than what people think. But when they start reactivating, it starts to make sense because it pulls the hologram down. This is what don't nobody want. It's called lifting the veil. The veil between worlds is the realization that this shit is a game. We probably on the moon playing it here. You understand epigenetics, then you understand why Elijah Muhammad called us radioheads. We being projected into these bodies from somewhere else.
Right.
It's hard to tell where you being projected from while you in the body. As
Mm-hmm.
soon as you get outside the body, you like, God damn, man, I messed up again on the video game.
Yeah, just
I was
like that.
almost to the champions. I was almost to the championship level.
Just like that.
And I was finna save the princess from the dragon in Mario.
Huh? Wow. Wow. Like that, huh?
And
Wow.
yeah, but now you got to remember, if you an eternal being, Malachi said this in Man from Planet Risk. You have to do something to occupy yourself for eternity. If you go to India, they have historical records with whole cycles cataloged, thousands and thousands of different, what they call great year cycles, right? The record is always here, but sometimes we scatter the record out for a cannonball run. You know what cannonball run is?
Yeah, yeah.
That movie,
Yeah, yeah.
Scavenger Hunt. Hansel and Gretel pick up the breadcrumbs, the water washed them away, but the energy's still there, right? So you put down a different type of breadcrumb that don't dissolve in the rain, right? It's an energy field. Ain't none of this stuff new to us. We did this before. We did it so many different ways that now we acting like we haven't done it before because the particular types of conjures being used to strip the memory, right? Like, you want to play that Dr. Clark video so I can show some of what I'm talking about?
Yeah, let me. Give me 1 second, y'all.
So Dr. Clark was a good friend to. So even if we don't like them, they have to educate themselves out of the amnesia in order to know how to close the conjure. They couldn't win because they couldn't remember how to close the conjure. So it was inevitable that they would lose because they now have to call on the same person the tribe's got to call on.
Who's them? Who are you
to come and explain okay, so it's feathers versus fezzes. The Moors who went into amnesia, all of their fezzes is in the George Washington Memorial. It's a fez, it's a little section of fezzes, right? And then all of the chiefs, the feather wearing chiefs of the land. We didn't walk around wearing feathers every day. That's ceremonial garb for ceremonial purposes, right? So they want to conceal the fact that the chiefs was already here fighting this war in the blind, just like they was. So now they have to put the information out in the public and reach out for the same person the chiefs got to reach out for. That's what was going on. It's a conjure war. It's a war of education. It's a war of erudition. Study yourself to show thyself approved. This is what it's all about. The making of a man, the great arcana, the great work, the building of Solomon, the soul of man in order to inhabit the temple. This is what it's all about.
And so
all of the secret societies involved.
Who put the fezzes under the conjure now?
They did.
They put themselves under the conjure.
Yeah, we had both sides got to have amnesia.
Okay.
But in our amnesia, we got to outstudy each other to win. If you get caught in the dogma, you can't win the war.
Right.
If you follow your moral compass, follow what's true to your heart, you can't lose the war. Right? So wake up one. Right? So I'm the one that they woke up to wake the rest of us up. This is the wake up call.
So what gods?
So all of these secret societies in it. What was the question, Rich?
in terms of the fifth dimension, this chess game that's being played in the fifth dimension,
Hmm.
what gods are working in the favor of the feathers, and what gods are working in the favor of the feathers?
Okay, while we was in amnesia, none of them.
None of them.
No, we was left to our own devices to show ourselves worthy to let them relax. We had to prove it. You say you can go in there while everybody got amnesia, remember who you is, and then tell the rest of them who they is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We know who came over here. It's not a secret. Ain't none of it secret. That's the whole secret. It's in the public, but it's in your face behind your back. They play it in the movies. They write it in the novels, put it in magazines, tell it to you in the music. Everybody tell you just a little piece though, because everybody can't see the collective. When you see from the, okay, what is the purpose of everything you looking at? Everything got a purpose. Ain't nothing haphazard. Mm-hmm. Everything from your cell phone to the tree outside was meticulously crafted by somebody, somewhere at some point. The flora and fauna of the planet is drawn from the catalog called the Voynich manuscript, and that's why they can't translate it, because the language ain't Earth. Mm-hmm. Right? But it's just it's like a Sears catalog to populate the Earth with new flora and fauna to create a paradise. Mm. Right? So when you're looking at all of these ancient texts, you realize that all of this stuff is constructs of the mind that we go through in cycles of trying different things in order to not be bored for all eternity.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you, Rod, in the movies, that shit is like a curse, being an eternal being. That shit is miserable. I think the vampires, or whoever these people are in the movies, they be wanting to die, right? They be like, oh, I'm still here. So, I mean,
death is an illusion. They know death is an illusion, though. Anybody that's death is an illusion is only real in the game. When you're not in physical form, death ain't real.
No, I get that, but do you think that living for eternity is probably one of the things that Source or Big Mama or whoever this entity is one of the things that makes it most saddest? The fact that it lives for eternity? Like, that's forever. What the fuck are you gonna do forever?
Yeah. So what you're gonna do forever is come up with new cycles, with new ideas, and then strip them all back down and start all over. It's just like a kid with a block of Lego set. He gonna take his Legos and he gonna build something, show it off for a little while, then he gonna tear it down and he gonna build something else. That's what we doing. Mm-hmm. Tear it down and rebuild it. Tear it down and rebuild it. All of these fear-mongering tactics they using is funny to me because it's like a parody. Mm-hmm. It's like a tragic drama comedy. Mm-hmm. Right? And they doing it to slow down the perception of the ones in the game to make time drag out. Mm. Right? Time is only defined by event to event in the mind. Mm-hmm. That's why we need clocks. Mm-hmm. You try to put everything on a schedule. That's military regimentation. Right? It goes back to the Oscars. Who was Oscar? Right? And why was it so hard for us to get an Oscar? If Oscar looked like us, why was it so hard for us to get one of his trophies? Because it had nothing to do with us. Mm-hmm. It had something to do with those who needed to develop the cultures and the arts. Mm. That's why we didn't get no Grammys. That had nothing to do with us. We was juking in the juke joints. We didn't need no fucking awards. Mm. You monitoring something. What is you monitoring? You monitoring the assimilation of the one blood. One of those other videos I sent you, Dr. Clark, talk about the one blood doctrine, right? To get you past the divide and conquer mechanism of racism, We don't want to let that go because we want to be trauma bonded to somebody with just as much trauma as us that don't look like us.
Mm-hmm.
See, we don't remember, like, the worst of the races is the poor white trash. They the ones that hate us the most. You know why? Because they the ones down here with us at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they told them we the reason they at the bottom. Of course they gonna be pissed off at us. They fell for it just like we fell for that KKK black hand under the KKK. We grand deception. David Copperfield made the airplane disappear, but we knew it was just an illusion. No, it was just, it wasn't real, but he made it look real. How did it look legitimate? Regimented roads,
Rod, you breaking up bad,
regimented living quarters. I don't know
Rod,
what that is.
Can you go out and come back in?
Well,
fine now. You good to go?
Okay, so here he is, just a little nappy head, raising head boy out of Michigan, gonna grow up and tell everybody what he see.
Mm-hmm.
You don't gotta believe me, but I'm gonna show you some receipts. When you get the receipts, don't argue with me, deal with the receipt. We have a record of us before Columbus came.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta remember, this is a 500-plus-year-old war. Started in 1492 with the arrival of Christopher Columbus and his brother and his son. Mm-hmm. Navigated by Pietro del Negro, and they came in on 3 ships. Mm-hmm. Right? That's a conjure in and of itself. The only way to overthrow the conjure of the 3 ships is to put 3 kings walking on the land. That's the counter on the chessboard. So the 3 kings walking on the land, all 3 of them got to have the blood and the right. So I got to find them. They got to talk to me telepathically. I got to figure out what they saying. And when we get to this part, this is when we start what we call wind talking. It's a certain level of development as a priest where they call you a prophet, but you're not really a prophet. You hear shit. You're hearing the voice of elders. That's not in the physical. That's the realm of the ancestors guiding you in the physical to make sure you get the job done like they told you. Right? All this is sorcery. It's all sorcery.
So you saying you got to find the 3 kings of the land now? That's what you saying?
I already did it.
Have you communicated with them telepathically or like over the phone, or like have you talked to them?
They know what's going on. Look, the reversal, this is how Cuba won the revolution. They used the reversal conjure with Camilo Cienfuegos, Fidel Castro, and Che Guevara. Camilo is the one they didn't want us to know about because we would have put the conjure together, the counter, just like Cuba did, and then we would have been able to throw the oppressor that was on us. It's the same conjure. It's the same counter moves. It's just a microcosm of the bigger game, and the game is for Earth. Mm-hmm. It's the same with the sisters that they did. They had to call the bookman from Jamaica like we had to call Garvey. When they called the bookman from Jamaica, they sent to New Orleans to get the recipe, and he put together Tucson and barbecue with the sisters' permission to use the 3 kings conjure in Haiti to conquer the French, and it worked. Mm-hmm. It's just the counter moves to what they did when they came, how they came, and what they came for. knowing that they was to establish admiralty water jurisdiction on the land because they have to declare this a crash site. When they talk about black people, they talking about the clans who was what we call stealth priests. They was represented by totem animals in black. The black leopard is the Black Panther. The Black Panther Party originated in Mississippi, contrary to popular opinion. They came from the Black Panther Brigade in World War II, and they was the ones who had to go see what was going on in Europe to read the signs in Europe to come back and tell us what they was doing over there because they gonna see the statues.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And we find that they doing the same thing over here. Babylonian blood magic, Babylonian money magic, Babylonian sex magic. Divide and conquer is the most effective tool for conquering anybody. And all of these mechanisms has been put in play to keep us from ever unifying to overthrow the force, the beast.
Mm.
So the war on our culture was to tell us that it doesn't exist.
Right.
And expect us to believe it in 200 years once we wake up.
So we in 2023 now, Rod. What do you see now that you've contacted the three kings? What do you see by the year? Everybody's talking about by 2030. So what do you see by 2030?
You remember when I say we gonna have Mardi Gras coast to coast?
You told me that before, yeah.
Trump announced the national celebration for the 250-year Jubilee. That's a code, by the way. It's the not Jubilee. It's the 250-year independence celebration, which means after 250 years we finally break free. But he already announced it, and for all of the technology is going to be at the next World Fair. He also announced that too. It's already in the works. It's already being done. So we got a whole lot of ground to cover in a short amount of time. We just got to see the event horizon.
Right, right. Wow. I want to take some questions from the family. We about to approach the hour mark. Give me some questions in the chat. We're going to get some questions from y'all. We talking about these conjure wars. Rod breaking this thing down. The fifth dimensional chess game that's being played between the gods and is being projected in this dimension that we know as Earth. So this is it. This is quite interesting. But give me some good questions in the chat. Before y'all give me questions, let me ask you another question, Rod. Is there any connection between the solar flares, which is fire? When you think of solar and flare, that fire, I guess what would that be? An unseen fire or something like that? I don't know. But is there any connection between the solar flares and all these fires that we see down here? No connection at all.
The solar flares is not causing the wildfires. That's being set by humans.
For what purpose?
They fighting a war. So a lot of people don't know, but they find deep state actual military bases in the wood. And instead of going in there and causing a lot of casualties on our side, they just set a fire and trap them in there. They came to give us hell, so the general said, give them the hell they came to give us, so they set their ass on fire. It's a Chinese military base, was I think it was like 20 stories underground on the Canadian-Mexican border that they blew up back in, I think, 2020 or 2021. Right? They had more than one of those bases. And then you have those that's in the deep state that's already told in advance at what time to do what calamity on their way out because they have to go. So they want to cause as much chaos, and they have billions of dollars to play with technology. So they do lot of the wildfire.
Yeah, let me get to one of these questions, a couple of these questions, Rod. I asked you this actually before we came on live. Candace wants to know, what about the hurricane going on in California?
So if you Google the Earth core stop and reverse, that's the grid shift of the planet. North is south, south is north, east is west, west is east, but we can't tell because of the way that it transpired. So the hurricanes are starting in a different location than they normally do. If you flip the pole back the other way, it would be coming from Africa, but from the direction it's coming from Mexico. So this is because of the shift. And if you look at human resonance, the frequency is changing, and all it is to Atlas shrug is what it's called. It's when a frequency from the solar flares hitting the core of the Earth, going through a particular place in the so-called universe, is supposed to activate frequencies that get rid of everything that doesn't belong. And this is where we signal the close of the age. This is how you get rid of the parasites. Anything that can't sync with the mitochondria of the Earth will be forced to shut it off because it's not from prime source.
All right, let's get to another question. Somebody says, what about solar flares upgraded individuals? Is it activating junk DNA?
The junk DNA is time to activate at this particular time because of the shifting of the poles and the solar flares combined causes an effect in the human organism and in other animals too. Y'all gonna be seeing animals that we thought was extinct popping up out of nowhere, and animals that you thought was plentiful. They're gonna be hard to find. But the most important animals is to sustain the bee.
All right. Let's get to another question. Fifth Dimension wants to know, so do we or do we not close the conjure?
They all closed. We just right now going through what's called the turnaround time. And the turnaround time is contingent on the size of the conjure. The bigger the conjure, the longer the turnaround time, meaning the longer it is for all of the mechanisms to switch direction.
How long do you think that turnaround time might be?
I don't know. This was some big shit. This affects the whole world. It goes back to the Bang Dong Conference when the tribes originally didn't know what was going on. But after we got enough people inside of the secret societies to get the secrets in the public, we was able to put together this plan to recover Earth and everybody working together. So a lot of people don't know, but this is not a spur of the moment time in our history. This is like a calculated series of events taking place from everything you seeing around you. These young chiefs, like Sabir Bay, Phase 1, B-Dale, 19 Keys, Yaki Awaken, them. This is not an accident. This is on purpose. You seeing them out there telling you from the way they see the problem, they ready to remedy it. No matter how they see it, they all trying to come to a consensus on how to remedy the problem. But all of them don't understand the nature of the conjure that we was under to keep us ignorant.
Give me 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Just fix that. All right. Let's get to this next. Is that why they are trying to block the sun?
No, they're not trying to block the sun. They're trying to confuse you to the iron oxide dust cloud that's starting to seep into the earth from galactic events converging. That's what they're trying to stop you from seeing.
Say that again. What cloud is this? Iron oxide? You said what you said now? You gotta explain that, man. That sound
If you go research Nibiru or Rilo 7 or Planet X, Planet Nemesis, all these is different names for the same event. All I'm gonna tell you that in the tail behind this Death Star, there's also another name for it. It's made of iron oxide or rust. When it's coming into our solar system or into our atmosphere, I should say, it creates a dust cloud in the atmosphere. At first, in some places, the sky will turn purple. Some places it'll turn pink. In some places, it's going to be a crimson red, like in California or somewhere in Europe last week. On all these places turning red. That's not no coincidence. It's been raining the debris caught in what we call pebble storms. Pebble storms is when rocks fall out with the rain. All that is the debris that comes with the close of the age from planet Nibiru.
wow. Yeah. Are they still running CERN? And if so, did they crack the firmament?
They're not allowed to operate CERN, even though it's still functional. They're not allowed to operate it until the new system come online, because the last time is how they blew the fourth dimension into the third dimension and fucked the game up, basically breaking the video game. So now we got to figure out how to fix the game while we live through the game.
You told
That's
me this
also
before.
part of, that's part of the Anunnaki conjure.
Right. The Anunnaki did that. They messed up the fourth. They merged the fourth and third dimension, you saying?
Yeah, that's why we need sleep, because we got to operate in two dimensions at the same time. So we got to split our consciousness between the dream state, fourth dimensional mind matrix, and the physical realm, three-dimensional physical matrix, fixed position reality. This is what all the platonic solids is telling you. It's telling you how to make mandalas in order to untrap your mind.
Right.
But we don't know that because we didn't study that stuff, because they used to teach us that to hide it from us, they was putting it in books. That just made me read more.
Somebody, Khalifa wants to know, are we supposed to be patriarch or monarch as a people?
Those are the same thing. A monarch is a king. A patriarch is a male leader. Patriarchs exist inside a matriarchy. Patriarchs are the stand-up guys that the women say, I can't keep him to myself. I have to go out and get some more sisters. Right? So the matriarchy is around children, childbearing, and producing good seeds. Patriarchy is about control, domination, and warfare, rulership, leadership. And in order for patriarchy to ever be functional, it had to work hand in glove with matriarchy. And that's the father being the father and the mother being the mother. And the mother being the one who operates in the heart of the home, being the kitchen. She operate there, but she ain't the only one in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the guys cook too, right? But we assign assignments to the family on who's most competent to perform the function. The elders used to say it like this: the one who knows the path leads the way.
Mm-hmm.
So when we start putting it all back together, The culture is in our face, but it's fragmented because we was miseducated on purpose. It's not an accident.
Hmm. I don't know if I understand this question. Young Hardin wants to know, what about the toxic matriarch figure? Is it time for the cycle to close? Do you understand that? What he's
Yeah, I know exactly what he's talking about. So what we call a toxic matriarch is, well, also known as the rogue mother. And she's in her Sekhmet or Kali Ma energy. It's the raging mother trying to protect her cubs. And the reason she like that, because she see the war, but she don't know what she's looking at. So always in war mode. Now we have to get the women out of war mode back to love mode in order to shift the war story to a love story. This is the bottom line of the conjure war. That's the final hurrah when the women realize that they can be women because somebody gonna make sure that the boys learn how to be men.
mm-hmm. All right. Somebody wants to know your thoughts on Russia influence in Africa.
It's the other way around. See, Africa is reclaiming Africa. The clans of the organic clans of the African continent is systematically taking over every single country one at a time and reclaiming what's called the organic and natural birthright. This beyond any other names that they're using to separate and segregate them, those what we call exonyms, the name the enemy gave you when he came. If you let him tell you who you is, you belong to him.
Mm.
If you identify yourself with who you are, you belong to you, and you can do something about the other people that's similarly situated that don't know no better. But you can't do nothing about it if you don't know you at war. And it's a culture war.
Will there be a World War III in 2024?
We already fought World War III. We in World War IV right now. The World War III was called the Cold War. World War IV is the war for technology, innovation, and the fight for right on Earth. And that's the war we're fighting right now. It's World War IV.
Hmm. Okay, let's get to another one. Do Rod Hayes do any type of consultations?
Yeah. Message me on Instagram.
What's your Instagram?
The SikApe at the SikApe.
How you spell it?
THESIKAPE.
Okay.
Which is the acronym to help everyone. Soldiers and Illuminati are present everywhere. Cool acronym, ain't it?
Yeah. So Des wants to know, how does that work when some women want to be men and some men want to be women?
Okay, first of all, you got to realize that women that you believe want to be men, they don't want to be men. They want a man. And the men who want to be women was raised that way by a military contingent philosophy. We call it the gay agenda, and they was deliberately taught that by people that wanted to subjugate us. Child molestation is part of Babylonian sex magic. Sexual conversion to alternate gender identity is Babylonian sex magic.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Question, Rod Hayes, what and when the extraterrestrial will show themselves to the public?
You be seeing them all the time, but you think they regular people. And some of them you just think ugly as hell and they regular people. And some of them you think exceptionally gorgeous, but they regular people. But they all aliens. All extraterrestrials don't look like that comic book ass shit they be telling y'all. Don't fall for that. You gonna know them by the frequency and not by them telepathically talking to you. If you tuned in to self, you'll recognize them on sight. They here. all over the place.
Wolfgang wants to know, is one of the three kings in Tennessee?
Right now, they could be anywhere because they what you call underground. But they will have to be made known to the public. That's the rules of the land.
Where's this question at? Somebody's asking, are the ancestors back on Earth plane?
You, your ancestors. If you here, your ancestors here. You they representative. Just like them being here is you being here. Look, your DNA is it's a microcomputer processor. The codons on your DNA ties to frequencies in order for you to tune in to what is written in the code. There's a series of binary numbers that's on your DNA. That's called communicating with the ancestors. That's why communicating with them brings you higher awareness of self, which gives you more control of the environment around you.
Michelle wants to know, will the grid go down?
I don't know, it's gonna officially go down, but I don't know if it's gonna truly go down. But we're gonna have to, when this shift happens, when the organic earthborn reclaim Earth and it's finally done, everything go dark around the planet. And it could be anywhere from 30 minutes to 90 days. That's what they call it.
Keita, I hope I'm saying your name right, wants to know, what is up with Sedona, Arizona? Why are so many non-colored people attracted to that place and not so many colored folk?
The only reason that not so many of the melanated are drawn to Sedona, one is the Pleiadians do a lot of work with what we call the pale face. They got a special affection for them, and they do a lot of work out of Sedona. But most of us don't go because we didn't went down there so many lifetimes. We don't give a fuck if we get there or not. We already did that. That's all old practice. That's ancient practice. But you got a new family member that needed a chance to rule and a chance to ascend. And now there's those beings making it possible. It's all part of the game.
Rod, why does the Palladians have such a special relationship with who we call white folk?
Because a lot of they what we call soul matrix comes from Pleiadian light. As the final two daughters of Isis, Scott and Scotia. And the Isis energy traced back to the Pleiades as well. And the Pleiadians' light lock is what kept the war on Earth outside, from spilling outside of Earth. This is what and it's backed up by an Arcturian support system. All these are energy work. All of this is sorcery and conjure and magic and science. Actually, the science is the magic.
So would it be, Rod, would it be beneficial for melanated folks to go to Arizona? Or is it like,
look,
it's overrated? Is it overrated, or, you know?
Nah. We go to those spiritual places when Mother Earth tell us to move. When you don't see us going there, she got us looking in a different direction. They can use that. It's going to come a time where a lot of melanated people are going to be drawn to Sedona. Like, she's asking the question now. That means there's a curiosity brewing in the community. Others of us want to know. It's a lot of us still go down there. Don't get it twisted. But it's just that a lot of work is being done with the most recent evolved human species of the planet. In order to get them their right to ascend, they had to assimilate their one drop of blood. So now they're going for their spiritual tuning sessions to make sure that they can function in the fifth dimensional matrix and the solar cycle. Because the sun ain't going to be friendly just because they got the right to ascend. It's going to be brutal until they adjust.
It's quite interesting. That's a whole nother show. Quite interesting. Yeah. Okay. This is something that's said a lot now. Where is it at? Chat moving so fast. Is it true the sea is space and space in the sky is the sea?
You ain't never heard as above, so below? It means exactly what it say, as above, so below. When we talk about coming into creation from the primordial abyss, abyss is the depth of water, but it's not physical water of the earth. It's the primordial noon, the great waters of creation, which is the fluids that run through the womb of the great mother, who we rest creation in as we develop as the gods. It's all Egyptian conceptual physics told in story fashion as the story of the gods. Those are all conceptual physics stories that tell you how to read the stars, that tell you how to translate it on Earth and what do it mean when you translate it.
Right, right. Okay. Let's see. Somebody said, okay. Is the sky blue because of the blue sun?
That's a double oxygen molecule called ozone that make the sky appear to be blue. It's the oxygen molecule that produces a blue pigment, a baby blue pigment.
All right. Will social media ever come to an end?
I don't know, but I hope my social media days come to a motherfucking end because I'm sick of this shit.
Oh man. All right, let's keep it moving. Okay, why are a lot of melanated people moving to the southern states, particularly from California?
I don't know about particularly from California, but I do know Mississippian culture says that when the energy shift, everybody go back to Big Mama house. For Mississippians, that means the land that we call today Louisiana, Arkansas, and Georgia, Florida. That's called the Big Mama land. We be called the land of the flowers. Florida used to stretch all the way to Texas.